I have something disturbing to show you. The map you're seeing on your screen shows the world's birth rate as of 2022. The countries in purple, that is the United States, Canada, Japan, China, and almost all of Europe, are no longer giving birth to enough babies to replace their population.
Half of all women under the age of 45 did not have any kids in 2014.
If this ugly trend continues in a few thousand years, the world's white, Chinese and Japanese population might go extinct. Now, imagine if 5-year-olds in the next 30,000 years have to read in the history books that there was once a race called white, just as they are reading about dinosaurs and woolly mammoths today. You think that cannot happen?
If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words.
It all started in the 19th century. According to Statista.com, this is the fertility rate in the United States between 1800 and 2020. The US went from 7.03 children per woman in 1800 to 1.78 children per woman in 2020. The United Kingdom went from 5.5 children per woman in 1820 to 1.7 children per woman in 2020. Don't forget, 2.1 children per woman is the population replacement rate.
The golden number is always 2.1. So the total fertility rate, which is the number of children that the average woman has over the course of her lifetime, if that's 2.1, your population is going to remain stable.
Any country that goes below 2.1 births per woman will start declining. Unfortunately, many countries are on that path right now. China's fertility rate looks like this: Japan, Sweden, Canada, France, Russia. You get the idea. The white, Japanese and Chinese population have turned their backs on babies. Now, let's talk about specific problems that come with having fewer and fewer babies in a given country or race. The first thing that happens when a lot of people stop producing babies is a demography problem. In a normal population, the demography should look like this. You have old people who are no longer productive here, you have babies and children below the age of 15 here, and then you have productive members of the population here. Now, when you stop producing babies, you'll one day end up with this. Imagine a country where 40% of the people are like this. You have very few productive people. These few people have to work harder and pay more taxes to support the elderly, since you have less productive people in the economy. You have less of everything, including the economy itself. You have fewer people in the military, less power among nations, and even worse political leaders.
I think of demographics as like the tectonic plates operating under everything else.
Yeah.
And so you have economics, you have culture, you have politics, all those things happening. But the shape of them is always influenced in a very deep way by demographic.
Okay, some people think immigration might solve the problem. In fact, many politicians think so. For example, according to this 2015 World Population Policy Report, between 1996 and 2015, the portion of governments with policies to raise immigration increased from 4% to 12%. Now, there are two problems with this thinking. First, if all the countries listed above keep on declining, there's nowhere in the world you will find enough people to fill their countries.
Well, what about immigration? It's like, okay, look, there's 1.5 billion people in China. Where is China going to get 700 million new people?
Second, let's assume all these declining countries can get more and more immigrants from Africa, since Africa is the only continent having more babies. Okay then, what do you think will happen in the next 5,000 years? Or the next 30,000 years? Where are the white people? Where are the Japanese and Chinese? Okay, children in the next 50,000 years will be reading in the history book that there was once a race called white, Japanese or Chinese, the way we read about dinosaurs today. Does that sound like a nice thing to you?
If people don't have more children, civilization is going to crumble. Mark my words.
Now, let me make something clear here. I don't have a problem with the people who choose not to have kids. In fact, I'll discuss a legitimate reason for such a decision soon in this video. The problem comes, however, when not having kids become a trendy, fashionable thing for an entire race.
One of my friends, she said she never had the desire to have kids, and she said that, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize that that was an option. And when she said that, I was like, I don't know if I want to have kids either.
The problem comes when women are told that career, success, and power are more important than raising a family, or when you make women who are raising families look like failures.
Like many other women who choose not to have children, Susan is a powerful and successful woman. She's the CEO of a consulting firm.
The problem comes when childlessness becomes a great movement that we need to spread through feminism and TED Talks.
You see, a value that I have always understood about myself was that I never wanted children.
The problem comes when 60% of 22-year-olds who have never had a kid are made to believe that children are a burden. They're problematic, they restrict your freedom, they affect your mental health, and essentially make you unhappy.
I think it's not a need for women anymore. We don't need to have children. We find that our own happiness is more important, our own mental health is more important.
On April 29, 2015, Pope Francis said that people who decided not to have kids are selfish.
Pope Francis made some interesting remarks today. The Pope said opting not to have children is a selfish choice.
The irony of the statement is that the Pope himself doesn't have any kids. Okay, I know what you're thinking, but here's the thing. I don't think people who choose to be childless are selfish, because there could be some legitimate reasons why some people might decide not to have kids. Now, let's imagine this hypothetical story. Mr. James was 21 years old in 1830. He and his new wife, Rosaline, lived in Brixham, a village in England. There are many rivers in Brixham, so their primary occupation was fishing. James and Rosaline had a fishing business, and from his teenage years, James had admired Mr. Richard, the richest fisherman in Brixham village. He wished to be as rich as Mr. Richard when he grows up, or at least not to be poor like his father, Mr. Jacob. Now, the only way to be as rich as Mr. Richard, or at least to overcome poverty, was to have as many children as he can. So, James decided to have 12 children. Since 1 in every 3 children born in 1800 did not make it to their 5th birthday, James expected to have 8 grown-up children who would help him with his fishing business. It didn't cost James anything to live on the farm. Most fish farmers also planted crops, and children didn't have to go to school for more than a few years, which was mostly free. If you lived in the 19th century, the norm was to give birth to a lot of children, then they grow up to join the family business, which makes you richer. Also, when you grow old, your children will be around to keep you company and help you. Children were gold. They were assets, and like every asset, the more of them you had, the richer you became. Now, fast forward to 2022. This is Mr. Luke. Luke lives in a city where 32% of his income goes for rent. Luke and his wife, Rachel, have a combined $67,000 in student loans. These guys have car loans and a few $1,000s in credit card debt. As young couples, they're yet to figure out how to live a debt-free life, talk less of living the American dream. And while considering having some babies, Rachel searches Google for some idea about how much a child costs. Here is what Rachel found. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the average cost of raising a child to age 18 in the United States was $233,610 as of 2015. A child born in 2022 could be estimated at $272,049, and those numbers don't include the additional cost of sending a child to college. If Luke and Rachel decide to have 5 kids, as their grandparents did 70 years ago, that's $1.5 million in the next 18 years. There are some non-financial costs, obviously. For women, children draw back your career, as pregnancy and childbearing make you earn less. Babies don't allow us to sleep when they're young.
Giving? Oh no.
They disturb our lives as they grow up.
Yes, I do! I like computing!
No.
Yes, I do!
No!
I like computing!
and they can even become very disrespectful in their teenage years.
Either I'm breaking down her door or she's breaking down my door. I don't stop till I start seeing dents in the door.
If you want to focus only on the negative sides of raising a family, well, we can all say it's not easy to have a baby.
Isn't it super easy to have a baby?
No, it's never easy to have a baby.
But it's never easy to do anything. For example, it's not easy to make a garden, but a garden brings some level of happiness, which is why we do it. Why do you think raising kids only bring pain? If we think seeing the tree we planted growing makes us feel good, why do we think seeing our children growing doesn't bring more joy than pain? If some people can spend money to raise expensive dogs and feel happy having those dogs around them, why do you think raising another generation of humans is useless? So, in conclusion, some people in today's world do have a legitimate reason to say no to childbearing. But a lot of people are going that route simply to be part of a movement, to join a trend, or to maximize their career prospects. Looking for what to say, these people tell us that raising kids is burdensome and painful. They tell us that kids affect their mental health and make them unhappy. I only hope we're not on the road to extinction.